The Captain's Log Radio with your host, Captain Jonathan Moss.
Hello and welcome to the Captain's Log Radio. This is our weekend report. I'm Captain Jonathan Moss. It is Saturday, February 15th. Happy Valentine's Day to you. I had an incredible Valentine's dinner with my wife. She made all of my favorite things, and we had a great meal. The kids were actually, they behaved. It was great. We enjoyed our meal, and now it's Saturday morning. It's early. Everyone's still in bed sleeping, and I'm getting ready to go on a fishing charter. Now, this week, we've had a front come in a couple days ago. We got a front coming in again tomorrow. So we've been kind of in between fronts. It's been a north wind. It's been a south wind. It's been slicked out. It's been howling. I've had days where I just yesterday, Friday, I got to the ramp and I didn't even want to go. I mean, it was blowing so hard at 6:30 in the morning. My clients were supposed to be there at 6:45, and I'm just like debating, what do I do? You know, it's ripping. But I don't want to focus on that. I want to talk, well, before we get into it, social media plug, of course. Make sure you are liking and subscribing. You're hitting that bell on YouTube at the Captain's Log TV and on Instagram, Facebook at the Captain's Log TV. I love to communicate with you. I love getting DMs from people. I love talking fishing with people outside of the show. So make sure you are liking, subscribing, you're following all those platforms so that we can be connected. All right, so a couple days ago, Thursday, I took a father and a 5-year-old boy. You know, and my son's 5, so I have a lot of experience being on the water with kids. I've been guiding full-time for 10 years. Before that, I was a full-time PE teacher. I worked at an elementary school, so I'm used to having kids on the boat and dealing with kids. You know, I love little kids, and had his dad and 5-year-old boy, and it was ripping. I mean, just blowing. Not as bad as yesterday, but blowing. And out of the north, you know, and I've been on these particular fish, a group of trout. And for, you know, kids, these schoolie trout from 12 to 18 inches are a lot of fun. And they're really easy to catch. We're catching them on either two things. With kids, I don't like giving treble hooks to kids. So usually it's a deal-away shad tail, 3-inch swim bait, rigged weedless with an owner twist lock hook, usually an 1/8 ounce. If they're a little bit deeper, then I'll bump up to a 1/4 ounce jig head. You know, with the jig head, you still have an exposed hook, but it's not as bad as throwing, it's not as bad as throwing a jerk bait with treble hooks. So, so that's a really big number one go-to. I also like throwing jerk baits. Rapala X-Wrap number 8, black and silver, crushes it. And a lot of times if the fish are short striking it, the swim bait can be a little bit more difficult to get one because they have to eat the swim bait. With the jerk bait, if they're short striking it, you know, then there's a better option, a better odd that the fish is going to get a hook with those treble hooks. So we get to the first spot, and they've been thick on that first spot, but the wind changed, condition changed, fish moved, and if I would have put in some time and fished this spot in this area, I probably could have found them. But with a kid on the boat, I want action. I want action quick. So pick up the boat, fire it up. We didn't pick up the boat. We fired it up and we took off to the next spot. Spot number 2 has been really good. An area where I can hide from the wind, and there's holding fish. Same lures, throwing a swim bait or throwing a jerk bait. So I got the kid throwing a swim bait on a jig head. And I got me and the dad are throwing a jerk bait. The kid's throwing a swim bait. We're throwing jerk baits. So dad hooks up pretty quick. I was surprised. I thought, you know, he'd hand him the rod for the first one, but he reeled it in first one. Second one was like the next cast or 2 casts later. He hooks one, hands his son the rod. And here's the point of the whole story. Kid gets the fish in the boat, does a great job fighting the fish, reeling the fish in, gets the fish to the boat. Usually, I'll have, and I wish I should have grabbed one. Um, Usually, I will have my anglers grab the eyes on the jerkbait because both sets of trebles are typically buried into the fish's mouth or on the side, one in the mouth, one on the side. And so if you grab the eyes of the lure, then that fish can shake and you're fine. Well, that didn't happen. One of the treble hooks came out of the fish, and that fish was thrashing, and it wasn't doing it so crazy, but because he was 5 and he's got little hands and maybe not as strong as a man or a woman or an adult, one of the hooks got him right in the palm of his hand, stuck him good, like to the barb. The barb went through. It's in there. It's in the meat. It's deep. And he's 5. He starts freaking out and he starts screaming and crying. And, I'm like, oh, so I immediately grab the fish and I have to unhook this fish. That's number one because the fish is freaking out and shaking. Every time it shakes, it's more pain and bigger of a gash going in this kid's hand. So I take the fish off. I throw the fish back into water. Off he goes. And then I start thinking, I got to get this out. And this is the point. You need to be prepared for this stuff. Even if you're not a guide, you need to be prepared. There are options. Option number one, you cut the line and you say, we're going to the hospital. Okay. But that ends your fishing trip. And there are situations where you need to go to the hospital. It's in your nail. It's in your eye. It's somewhere bad. Option number two, and I don't like this option at all. You push the hook through, and now that barb is exposed, but you have to have something to cut it. Okay. Danco has a hook cutter, okay, big wire cutter. They're part of their Lunar series. That's a great tool to have on your boat. With Danco, you're going to get a warranty, you're going to get a quality product. That's a great route to go. The third option is to get you some line, okay? And this is what I had. I had 20-pound fluoro. Think about one of these is this exact hook. One of these trebles, and I'm not going to demonstrate. I'm just going to show you. Was here. All right. Now there's 2 of these hooks. So my fear was the way this thing was in his palm that when I popped it out, okay, and you do that by wrapping it with line, okay, you tie it around the hook, okay, and you give yourself, some line, and then you can put it around your hand so it's good and tight. All right. And there's, if it's a J hook, I've heard people say, well, push down on the shank of the hook, but this is a treble hook. All right. I had a client, Brandon Martin is his name. He's up in the Charleston area. And he told me a story where he was down in the Amazon catching big peacock bass using giant plugs. And when they went to pop it out, it came out, but the other treble hook on this giant plug went into his leg. I think it was all in his calf or something. Don't quote me on that one, but it was in him. So one hook came out, but then another one got buried. And so I always have that back in my mind, like, I got to get this hook out of this kid without getting, another hook in him. So I put a towel around it, but towel's heavy. And that wasn't the ticket. So I was able to turn his hand into a position where I could pop it and pull it out. Whole point is this is something you need to learn. You need to have the dad looked at me His name was Chris, and he goes, "So, so what are you doing?" He's having wrapping line around a hook, and it's hooked to his kid, and he's, "What are you doing?" It's like, "You're gonna have to trust me, man. You're just gonna have to trust me." And he went, "Okay." And as a father and having a little kid, now 5-year-old boy, I mean, it's identical. It's like, yeah, something's going on with your kid, and there's nothing you can do about it. I'm a control freak. That's why I'm the captain. I want to be running the boat. All right, not be able to do something is not a position I like to be in. So when I told him, hey, you got to trust me. Praise God, he trusted me. And I was like, please, Jesus, I need this thing to come out in one pop and not hook him. I didn't say that out loud. I was praying in my head because I didn't want them to hear any doubt in me. I didn't have any doubt. I just didn't want it to be worse. So wrap your line around the hook, tie it, wrap it around your hand. And I said, "What's your favorite color?" And he goes, "Orange." And he was crying. He's like, "Orange." I was like, "All right, on three, ready? One." Pow! I pulled on one. Didn't even let him get to three. Didn't want him to think about it. Wanted him to think about the color orange. And that thing came out. It's crucial, guys, that we are prepared, whether you are going to either the decision ahead of time is to go to the doctor, have a pair of the Danco cutters to be able to push it through and cut it, or know this trick. Wrap the line around it, pop it out. Regardless, things are going to happen on the boat. We just did a tackle box tip with Captain Mark D'Addario, and he was talking about, maintenance, preventative maintenance. This is not something you can prevent from happening. Things happen. There's hooks on the water. There's hooks on the fish. There's hooks on the lure. You're like, fish are slimy. They're going to freak out. They're going to flop. But what you can do is have a plan in your head ahead of time. You need to have a safety plan. You need to know what you're doing. You need to have researched how to get a hook out of your hand or someone else's hand. Okay. Before. And if you want to practice on yourself and hook your thigh or something, go for it, but at least having the knowledge in your head on how to properly and quickly remove a hook from your hand or someone else's hand or a piece somewhere on your body, that's good knowledge to have. So think through that. Be safe out there. Oh, I'm so glad it came out. And I was really proud of the kid. He was 5. That's a pretty traumatic thing for a 5-year-old having a hook in their hand. He took a break, had a snack. I think it was Cheez-Its. No, he had Cheez-Its later. It was pizza combos. Those are like my favorite road trip snacks, pizza combos. He sat there and pounded some pizza combos. And then a couple minutes later, it's like, "All right, Dad, I'm ready." That's a big lesson for a kid, That's a huge life lesson. Hey, something bad happened. I'm going to have a snack, and I'm going to get right back to it. And you know what? He caught fish by himself. And I was really proud of him. I think it was his first time fishing saltwater, if I'm not mistaken. Really proud of him. So be prepared. Suck it up with the pulling. That's going to hurt. But once it comes out, you're going to feel a whole lot better when you get back to fishing. Y'all have a great Saturday. Get out there and catch some fish. I got a trip this morning. I'm looking forward to it. I got a 2-boat charter. It's going to be windy again. So we got our work cut out for us. But God is good. We're gonna find some fish and we're gonna have some fun. And I want to hear about you. I want to see what you're catching. So please tag me on social media, send me some DMs. Let's talk fishing. If there's anything you want me to talk about here, always looking for suggestions. I've got a lot of just things happen on the water, things I experienced during the week that I'm going to talk about here on my weekend report. But if there's anything you want to talk about in particular, don't hesitate. Reach out. Y'all have a great weekend. Be safe out there. Catch the fish. See you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Captain's Log Radio with your host, Captain Jonathan Moss.